What are your advice for clients that wants to rebuild? How do they manage also their emotional states?
Enjoy the process. I had this very sad case of a couple who wanted to rebuild their house, but they always argue about what they wanted. One day, the husband texted to me and said, "Hey, my wife wants to divorce me."
What are some of the horror stories you've heard on the ground?
The client came to us for help. They appointed a D&B contractor. The D&B contractor had no incentive to put forth a proper contract form between him and the owner. So in the end, when the building works, let's say, go into delay, all those contractual protection was not there. So they had no retention sum to rely on. They had no performance bond to rely on. They had nothing.
Feeling like a brand new me. For the very first time, I'm right where I'm meant to be.
Just a quick background, you guys are co-founders, you are partners, business partners.
No, Index Architects is a sole proprietor. So I'm the founder of it.
Okay.
Yong Hui is my able assistant, my right-hand man.
Okay. Great. How long have you guys set up the company?
We started out in 2009. So we are 16 years this year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been quite a journey.
Okay. Can maybe share a little bit like in terms of your portfolio, what do your firm focus on?
Sure.
Who are largely your client audience and stuff like that?
We do quite a fair bit of residential landed houses. I think that's a main chunk of our portfolio. So from intermediate houses to semi-D to good plus bungalows, we have done this typology quite a fair bit. Also have built condominiums, and then also like factories, warehouses, industrial buildings. We have also done those kind of buildings, and even religious buildings. We've done churches, we've done kindergartens and buildings like that. So quite a wide range and typology at Index.
Okay, maybe let's talk about the landed market, because a lot of our audience, when they watch the podcast, they're very keen to either go into landed for the first time. Either they are also switching between houses. Some of them are entering into a season that they want to build their own, like an aspirational landed home. And usually what we observe is that clientele that once they enter into a landed space, they stay within the space, either going bigger, building their own, or they shift smaller towards the retirement age. How has the space evolved, like since 2009 when you set up Index Architects, right? How have you observed the landed market in terms of the audience kind of like preference and appetites?
It's still very robust. Of course, the land prices from 2009 to today is astronomically risen by class. So it has started to become like more like an investment for some people. Also, right? When they
okay, 2009, how much does it cost to invest in an inter-terrace? Like if you guys remember.
I'll give you a real world example.
Okay.
I bought my inter-terrace in 2006 at less than $1 million, about 700,000, 800,000. I sold it for about 2.7, 2.8 million. It's like that kind of gigantic increase, and I think it's gone even further up. Right now, and there are also people buying GCBs and all that. Is that's a big market that people are looking at. Right, where the net spend is already so big, and yet they focus their attention on that.
We just tabulated the latest median transacted price for 2025, and of course, like based on asking prices now, inter-terrace across the 28 district, the lowest you can find will be like one that's meant to be torn down, which will, I think there's only a couple of listings left, and you can still probably get something about 3.5 to 3.6 mil. But other than that, they are all already in the 4 mil plus range. In fact, for our firm, how we help our clients to make distinguished decision between the types of lender, we sort of like innovated this very simple framework. We call it category 1 to 4. Like category 1 are single story homes meant for tearing down. Category 2 are the pitch roof type with the red roofing, which in my opinion, those type are very solid structures. Right. Then the category types are maybe built in the last 10 to 20 years. Then 4 will be the brand new from developers. Based on your nature of the business, I suppose you're dealing with mostly clients that wants to rebuild, or have there been a lot of clients that want to do A&A and stuff like that?
I think a share of both, also depending on the budget, right? Yeah. So A&A, if the existing building has parts of it which are working well, staircase is in the right location for like central to the building, so you can easily expand forward or backwards. Those are good signs that there are possibility to retain a big chunk of it. But if you want to build an extra floor or you want to build a basement, then that becomes a bit more complicated. And probably a new build would be more suitable. And you can actually, do the bespoke way that you can tailor it to whatever needs you have. But of course, the expenditure is more. So I would say really dependent on the budget and the needs.
Have there been a shift towards more A&A in recent years because the prices has shifted up? What do you guys think?
I mean, I have been with Index for over 12 years. So since I first joined Index till now, I do think that there are more questions coming in about A&A projects, but after maybe us doing some feasibility study on behalf of our clients, then sometimes they tend to move towards new erection. This is also a result of evolving building regulations. For example, when I first joined Index in 2013, the URA did not have building envelope control. They have very strict stipulations as to floor-to-floor height, number of stories, and so on and so forth. Then since then, the building envelope control guideline has come in. So now there is a very real, tangible trade-off that you can get by constructing a new building, because you can start to insert more floor plates. And from our point of view is, you sacrifice the headroom and stuff like that. Spatially, you might feel a bit compressed. But at the end of the day, we respect our clients' needs for more floor space. So therefore, in such instances where they start to say, if I spend a bit more money to build a brand new house, but I get one more floor. That is even without considering building a basement. And that trade-off is something that I would say more than 50% of our clients will actually make that trade-off.
Right. Maybe for the benefit of our audience, maybe Yong Hui want to share a little bit about the envelope control, because in a 2-story zone, traditionally you can build up to 2.5 story. 12 meters total, right? Then 3-story zone, 3.5 story, then up to 15.5. But with the envelope control, you can build like level 1M, right? Then you technically can save money compared to the traditional method. You have to dig the basement, whereby usually the cost is 50% more, right? Maybe share a little bit like how does the envelope control benefit in terms of more levels?
We have to say what was before. So what was before was that URA stipulates strict guidelines as to how much how high the first story needs to be, and that needs to be at about 4.5 meters. Then subsequent floors are 3.6 meters. Then subsequently, when you reach the highest floor, there's the attic. You can build up to 5 meters. But having said that, you're also subject to what we call the attic guidelines, and you need to respect the attic spring line and so on and so forth. And that's why you see the older houses, they tend to have these pitch roofs, which have very low headroom towards the tail end of the pitch roof. Since then, the building envelope came in, then so it allows the client and architects to start to look at a building envelope. So basically, URA just controls what they want to see in terms of the external massing and the form. So in between, theoretically, if you can squeeze in as many floor plates as possible, it's a bit like kueh lapis, you can squeeze in as many as possible. Having said that, there are other agencies where there are other regulations will come in. For example, BCA will say that their minimum headroom is 2.4 meters. So therefore, when you consider a floor-to-floor height of about 3 meters, so you have maybe the structure plus the finishes, and along with M&E spaces and ceiling space, when you do a floor-to-floor height of 3 meters, you achieve a minimum clear headroom of about 2.4 meters. So therefore, under the building envelope guideline from URA, we work from that assumption that every floor is about 3 meters. So coming back to the 2.5 stories, so that's 12 meters in total in 8.5 plus 3.5. So generally, just as a rule of thumb, then we divide by 3. That means previously you could have 1 story, 2 story, and attic.
Right.
And an attic is considered like half a floor. Now you theoretically can do first story, first mezzanine, second story, and an attic. And the attic together with other design strategies like dormer windows and stuff like that, you can start to increase covered area by quite a bit.
Yeah, which will increase the amount of bedrooms that a lot of people wanted.
Yes.
Right. Then if it's a 3.5 story zone, then it's even more beneficial.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There's this recent so-called like conversation about the property tax also. Right. So some clients are comparing between doing A&A and even recon, right? Recon is like you preserve certain bones of the property. So they are always like measuring, if I do a brand new tear down, will my property tax be more significant, right? Compared to like if I do A&A, because I think property tax not just from the rental, but also they look at it as a new erection. Then there's increased GFA, newer structure and all that. Like how do I usually advise clients on that if they were asking you about this property tax angle for and they're deciding, hey, Jerry, should I A&A or should I rebuild?
Again, I think the underlying thing is the budget for the building and the needs of the occupant. I think that's probably in terms of costing and value is probably more than the property tax. So I would say maybe set that aside and then think about really what you need and if you can really have preserve some things that are useful for you from the house, then by all means try to do an A&A. Otherwise, most of the time I think a new build you can really build up to the specs and the different purpose that you need for the house, and I think that's more valuable than saving some money for property tax.
Right.
Yeah.
How about from the angle of like the total cost that they need to invest and value add? Because another popular question is also like, will me, let's say, partaking in A&A end up with all the example? I mean, like sometimes after doing A&A, there's variable orders coming in because they discover new things along the way.
Sure.
Will it end up to be like very close to a rebuild cost? Because this is one worry that a lot of buyers have.
Yeah, definitely you need to balance that. Make sure that's why I say in the first place, we should have a look at the existing property, make sure that some foundational things are intact, are in good condition, working condition. Then we can advise A&A is maybe a good choice. But if there are a lot of things like in the infrastructure, the M&E, that are not really working very well, then you may want to consider tearing down. So I think the front part of investigating the site, making sure that the things are in order is quite important in the process of deciding.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe let's talk a little bit about both your backgrounds as well, right? Jerry, like prior to starting your own firm 2009, before that, where were you? What were you doing?
I was working in DP Architecture. So was Yong Hui. Both of us were working in DPA,
right?
Which is quite a large, well-known firm in Singapore. At the beginning, I was working on big mega jobs like Esplanade, Central at Clarke Quay, Orchard Central. So I was there for quite a long time, more than 10 years, working on these mega projects before I decided to sort of refocus myself and set up Index as my own practice.
What was the decision-making process to set up your own practice?
Couple of different factors. I think notwithstanding that I learned a lot and had many opportunities in DPA. I felt that at that time, after about 10 over years, I wanted to do something to sort of refresh my practice itself. So change was one of the factors, and change was out of a bit of restlessness, right? Okay, restless, and we want to think, hey, what can I do?
You wanted something more exciting?
Yeah. And then, no, not necessary, but something different, because I was doing a lot of commercial jobs, mixed use developments, etc. And I really wanted to try to look at something different, residential houses and stuff like that. So the other thing would, of course, be a bit more freedom. You have the freedom to express yourself rather than working in a corporate kind of setting, so that with small houses and landed houses, there's a big opportunity to do that, engage with clients personally, in a very private manner, and almost at a very intimate scale, working with them, and then coming up with interesting designs and ideas for houses. So that's how it sort of went about. It was a bit tough in the beginning, I would say, because I was a one-man show. I did everything from working in a big team to doing everything by yourself, down to, I think one of the biggest takeaways was about building economics. So in a big company, you don't think about, you like a salaried person, right? But over here, you need to find the jobs yourself, go out and meet clients, and then also do everything yourself, design, submit to the authorities and all that. So it was a big steep learning curve, but I think managed to do pretty okay. We are here right now. After all these years.
Like before that, you are an expert in DP architecture. Like you are the technician, an expert. Then now you are your own boss.
Yeah.
You have to find the business, run the business, and still be an expert. Right?
Yeah, correct.
Right. What was the biggest satisfaction in the last 16 years since running a business?
The way that we run our business, I wanted to do something like very different from the corporate world. So what we did was we like to train the architect to be able to do everything on their own. So I think in bigger companies, you sort of segregate the different roles. So one person may be expert in project management. One person is very expert in design. They don't get to see the whole idea and picture of building a building. Yeah, correct. So that's explicitly what I wanted to avoid. So all our staff, the young architects that join us, have this training that they pick up a project from inception, from the beginning, and they work all the way to the end and hand it over to the client, and including even like working on aspects like interior design, ID, and stuff like that to sort of complete the whole picture. And I think that's very, very tedious, but I think it is good in the way that we train our staff to be able to do that. They can see the whole big picture and they can really bring the project from beginning to the end.
Is it because you want your team to have more ownership plus?
Yes, exactly.
It sort of like value more, it adds more value.
Yeah, I think in the old days, you have this idea of architect as a craftsman, right? Or the builder, and then that is able to build everything, like the cathedrals and all that were done by people like that. So that kind of romantic idea is something that I had in mind, and we try to pursue in our practice. Right now.
How many architects do you have in your firm?
There are 6 of us.
Okay.
6 of us. It's a small company, but we work well and close together.
Okay. How about Yong Hui? I mean, a bit of your background.
I was from DP Architects as well.
Right.
I was in DP Architects for 4.5 years before Jerry reached out to me. And
Also, while you were there, Jerry was just left.
No, I think at that point of time, he probably has set up Index Architects for 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
So it was at a point where the firm was looking to expand and they needed more architects, they needed more manpower. So they reached out to me and I agreed to take on the new challenge. I was very happy with DP. I was very happy at DP. They gave me a lot of training, a lot of chances to grow and learn. But I was also enchanted by the possibilities that Jerry has presented to me. So I made a jump since and I never looked back.
Awesome. So it's been about 12 years already.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And in terms of like what the 6 of you handle, do you all like segregate like who does lender, who does commercial, or like do you all specialize?
It's generally a mix. So we try to like evenly spread out the different type of jobs. So the young architects would have opportunities to work on the landed house as well as maybe like a factory building, something like that. So they, so we have this thing that the architects need to take a professional exam in a couple of years' time. So I think that kind of exposure is also good for them to pursue their professional practice.
What exam is that?
It's so Yong Hui and myself are called qualified persons. So we take an exam, an architectural exam with the board of architects. And once you pass, you are a qualified person. So you can call yourself a real, like the word architect in front of your name. So you have to take some, you have to submit some case studies. You have to also take some exam papers, and that's how you qualify. That's what they're all studying for right now. Working hard on.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe let's come back to the landed home.
Sure.
We also always get this question, like sometimes they will ask our own opinion. Of course, we will refer them to a few different architects, builders and all that to get a second opinion. The clients always want to compare the key difference between the so-called like the real approach, right? Which is like architect first, then after studying your needs, your investment range, plus of course like your lifestyle, design, aspiration, all that. Then they launch a tender, right? To get builders, maybe 3 builders to quote, right? Then after that, they sort of project manage until the end. Then the other approach will be the design and build approach, which is to go straight to the builder. Then usually the builder then engage and outsource to an architect, right? So maybe share like what is the 2 fundamental difference of these 2 approaches for the end user.
The first approach is usually called the traditional approach. So, like you rightly say, the consultants, especially the architect, is appointed before the tender process. So the architect will actually work with the owner and talk through their design aspirations, their design needs. And at the end of the day, the architect will develop a set of design as well as tender drawings, and will invite contractors to come and tender. Then we'll do a tender evaluation and recommendation to the owner. And it is usually at this point in time where the conversation may steer in unexpected directions, like, why is the tender so out of my budget, and so on and so forth. That is usually the downside to that approach. But obviously, there are follow-up actions that you can take, like value engineering and so on and so forth. So you revisit a design, revisit a material selection, and then you see how you can cut costs. The other approach which you mentioned is design and build. So basically, yes, you approach a contractor, you appoint a contractor before you appoint architect. I mean, at that point of time, you can actually also call for a tender. So you can call for tender, you simply list out your requirements, and you can also list out your like design requirements. And you ask the contractors to handle all the design details and then meet the budget as well as meet a fit for purpose clause. So generally, between the 2 approaches, we will say that the traditional approach allows the client to have more control over the final product, whereas the design and build approach usually it has a semblance to your original design aspiration or design vision, but usually when the product is finally finished, it will deviate somewhat because the detailing may change downstream, the finishes may change downstream, as long as the contractor do not deviate too much from what they have earlier promised, which is fit for purpose as well as the budget. So in our practice, we tend to find that our clients are not very comfortable with the D&B approach, though they have a very real budget to work with. So we tend to do a hybrid. So when we start our design process with our clients, we do not wait until tender to get contractors on board to start pricing. So sometimes you can get a QS to do a cost estimate. That will be also the traditional approach. But sometimes we also feel that real numbers that has come from a contractor that is willing to back up that number with a real offer. That probably is more important to our clients. So therefore we involve the contractor on board quite early. But we also make it very clear to them that we have no obligations to them. At the end of the day, if our client calls for a proper tender, they will have to take part in the tender along with any other contractors that are invited. But again, why we take this hybrid approach in some of our projects is really to get a good sense of the construction budget early on, because it does not do anybody favor for us to realize that the budget is overly exceeded during tender stage. Because by then we have made our authority submissions, we have done a full tender set drawings, and time has already been expended. In order to redesign or adjust the design at that point of time would waste more time, and time is money, right? So that's why we sometimes use our hybrid approach.
Right.
Yep.
How about the fees difference in terms of the set of fees? For example, the traditional approach, are the architectural fees separate from the tender fees? Then for design and build, is it like a lump sum? Like usually, how is it?
Yeah, exactly what you mentioned.
Okay.
So the traditional way, the architect is called the lead consultant. So we are the one driving the project, and we'll be the one getting quotations from different contractors. So we have our set fees for the owners. But there's some advantage to doing that, because we can call tender and we can use a competitive tender to sort of get different contractors to price and even compare pricing and do negotiations and stuff like that. The D&B method, I would say, one important thing I feel is that you need to trust the contractor. Because if you have somebody dodgy, they can get away with a lot of things, like what he mentioned. They can substitute good material with so-so material, and really you will not get what you want. So it's a lot more cost-driven in terms of that kind of approach.
And because of they are the ones that own the workers and all that. So in terms of like the interest portion, right? It's like the traditional approach, you have somebody to oversee the whole thing. The traditional version, when it comes down to project management, like is the architect firm the main project manager as well?
For us, in our full scope service, we do provide project management.
Like
we go
end to end?
Yes, end to end. Sometimes in other projects, maybe they can engage project managers or even QS to do this kind of project management work. But usually for landed houses, it will be
end to end.
Yeah,
right.
end to end.
If not, some clients, maybe they just want the plans, right?
Correct.
Right.
Or sometimes they even just want a submission. They have a design in mind, and then they just want a submission architect, which sometimes may happen also.
Okay.
Or they get somebody foreign to design that cannot really submit. And then they can engage a local to look through everything, make sure everything complies, and do the submission. So that's called a submission architect. That also can happen.
Right. Going back to the portion about the comparison, right? So like, for example, if let's say a client decide to go for a design and build, maybe because from a cost constraint purpose, they want something like, okay, I just source 3, 4, 5 builders, compare quote myself. Then sometimes it ended up that they themselves have to keep going down to the site to check, right? And all that kind of stuff. And you mentioned about like maybe certain dodgy cost cutting measures and all that. What are some of the horror stories you've heard on the ground?
Some D&B carpenters, for instance, they do things which things don't join together, or lousy material that they use, or they substitute things. So I mean, the worst case scenario I've seen is that they go to small claims or whatever and sue each other, or so that does happen sometimes in bad situations. So we have to make sure we don't get into that kind of situation at all.
One example that I can give, and it actually happened, and the client came to us for help, is that they appointed a D&B contractor, and the D&B contractor had no incentive to put forth a proper contract form between him and the owner. So in the end, when the building works, let's say, go into delay, then a lot of the things that you get with a normal architect and the architecture form, the contract form that architect usually propose, which is the SIA conditions of contract, all those contractual protection was not there, because they have signed a contract that is purely written and drafted by the contractor. So they had no retention sum to rely on. They had no performance bond to rely on. They had nothing. So and at the end of the day, the contractor couldn't perform. It was going to delay, and there was no real recourse for the for the client to follow up on. Then, in my opinion, that is a kind of like a very bad situation for any homeowners to end up in. You will have hope that justice prevails, that you have paid for something and the contractor has promised something, and that something has to be in good quality and in good time. But at the end of the day, it was not done in good time. So you suffer time loss, you suffer opportunity loss, and then the quality, usually at that time when the relationship's sour, the contractor also spends a bit less effort and initiative and attention to follow up on quality matters. So that's the point where really the project takes a turn south.
Let's say, for example, halfway the contractor go bust. Yeah. So for example, even for DNB, or maybe even if through a former architect, the appointing, which I believe most architects, to protect reputation, you will definitely do due diligence check, the reputation, their portfolio, their cash flow and everything. But let's say touch wood, really halfway, the contractor go bust. What are the rectification routes that the owner and the architect firm can take?
Hopefully, like what Yong Hui has mentioned, they have some fail-safe inside, like insurances or bonds. At least you can recover some money from that. But otherwise, it is just to look for another contractor to take over. We will definitely have some losses in that.
Do contractors like to take over such projects?
No. It's quite complicated also because
they don't want to rely on the previous.
Yeah, because there are certain forms which say this contractor has built up to a certain stage of the structure for another person to take over that structure and for perpetuity, right? Then it's a bit risky also. Yeah. But we have done before, maybe like one case in the past.
There were a client who approached us for help in this particular instance. So yes, so in the end, we approach the client as we will serve any client. We help the client call for tender again. So basically there was I think we took over from the previous QP. So we called for tender, we searched for our most trusted contractors and asked for the best price. But like what Jerry mentioned, they are taking over somebody's work and assuming responsibility for it. At the end of the contract, though they've taken over, they still need to extend the same warranties, the same quality assurance to the owner. So therefore, they have to price in that risk. And therefore, at that point of time, you can call for tender, you can have the most competitive tenderers to come in, but the risk will drive the tender price upwards. So generally, that is a situation we hope no clients end up in.
Because you have to take over somebody's previous bowling and all that, right?
Correct.
And
structure
then
and all that.
If anything happens, you are the one.
Correct. Right. To take responsibility for it.
When it comes to costing nowadays, right? I mean, like usually people like to talk about like how much PSF and all that kind of stuff for like a terrace house, MED and all that. What are the rough ranges? Let's say, for example, somebody's expectation is not something very extravagant, a normal mid-range kind of rebuild costing. Maybe you can share some insights, like what are the latest costing? Like, has it stabilized after COVID, or is it still going up and stuff like that?
Of course, pre-COVID, there's a certain price range which we can never go back to. I think, if I'm not wrong, some of the latest tenders for, let's say, like a semi-D, new build came back to be about 400 to 450 per square foot, that kind of a price range.
How about inter-terraces?
So maybe about 400 and like slightly below.
So plus minus, you still probably need about 2 mil range for a terrace house.
I would say that should be around like that threshold that you're thinking of. And usually we say, if you want to do A&A, try to do it like below. So like 1 million to 1.5, if you can do an A&A within that range for like an inter-terrace, then that makes sense. Otherwise, if it goes beyond, then you can consider new build.
And semi-D will probably about 3 already, 2.5
something
3.
like that. Okay. Because you got the site and extra walls to do and stuff like that.
Okay. We talk about like just now in terms of like the example of like failure and all that, then you have to reappoint a builder and stuff like that. So usually, maybe going back to the topic, how do one do their own due diligence, right? Even if, let's say, from traditional approach or DNB approach, what are some red flags that they should look out for when appointing a builder and stuff like that?
I think you need to do all your checks. Make sure you check them properly financially. I think that's one of the most important. Make sure, like what he mentioned, you make sure that they provide you with all the bonds, all the insurances that are necessary. Once they say, I cannot provide you the bond, then there's a bit of a red flag already. Yeah, and some contractors use that as an excuse to say, hey, it'll be cheaper if you don't provide a bond.
Okay.
So all the things in the background that they need to give, make sure that they give. You can also check BCA websites has listings and grades of different contractors, what is their ability and stuff like that.
Right.
So those are things which are good to just make sure you can check on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Let's shift gear to trends, like the trends in the market.
Sure.
Right. So I believe you get that a lot. Like what's the latest trend? And a lot of buyers, if they want to build, they want to build something. Of course, some people, they don't have a mid to long-term goal of selling the property. They just want a place to enjoy, after building their business or being so busy at work for so many years. They just want a home to call home, right? Yeah. But some people, they want to build something that, maybe in about 8 years time or 5 years time or 10 years time, when they want to sell it, is not something that majority of the future buyers cannot accept. They want to build something that, okay, is having my idea of how many rooms I need, the design element, all that, but in Mandarin, it's like 大众可以接受的东西. They don't want to launch something like 8 years later, I'll put my property in resale market. But all the objection is like, oh, your design is like,
you don't have this, you don't have that.
Or it's like too skewed to the extreme already.
Sure.
Yeah. What are some of the latest trends that you have seen, like maybe in terms of number of bedrooms, design sense, materials as well, that for audiences that want to build something with an aspiration to sell, maybe 8 years later, it is still acceptable in the market, in your opinion? Like maybe it's a minimum must-have one.
Sure.
Yeah.
There are some, I wouldn't say they are new trends. They are like timeless trends that 9 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, they would be asking for it. And now they are still asking for it. These are basically ensuite bathrooms. So every bedroom should have an ensuite bathroom. There should be a lift, and that lift should be something that a wheelchair can go in. It does not necessarily need to comply with BCA's accessibility code requirements, but a wheelchair needs to be able to go in. They will be asking for a dry and wet kitchen. So basically anything that you see available in upmarket condominium, they should have it better. That kind of feeling. So therefore, all the other necessary basic requirements will kick in, like a maid's room, a maid's helper, a laundry room, and so on and so forth. Once these are more or less fulfilled, then that's where the leftover spaces leave a bit of things for imagination. Do you want a family room? Do you want a music room? Do you want a home theater? Do you want a home gym? Do you want a swimming pool? Do you want a spa inside your home? Do you want a massage room? You want a yoga room? And but usually we start from the fundamentals first, the timeless ones first, because these are things that eventually when you want to sell your house away, the potential buyer will probably be looking at these things, whereas a yoga room will be a bit too niche. But even in designing a yoga room, usually if the owner has a plan to sell it in 5 years time, in 7 years time, or 8 years time, or whatever time frame, we will already be looking at that room and say, okay, other than a yoga room, what could this be? Could this be subdivided into 2 bedrooms? For example, could this be converted into other functions and so on and so forth? Then do we want to put down the infrastructure to enable such downstream conversion? So that is probably how we approach this. Yeah.
Going back to the point about you mentioned these few trends, right? Ensuite. How about number of bedrooms? Bare minimum. Let's say we talk about inter-terrace. Usually, do people request for 5, or they say, can you try to squeeze in 6? or like 5+1 or 6+1 and stuff like that?
To us, between 5 and 6 is there's not much difference. And I think generally we will be looking at least 5. Then when we can put in a 6, it will be ideal. But sometimes that 6 room,
A bit smaller.
yeah,
Or can
exactly.
be converted from something.
Right.
Yeah.
Or how about air well plus like parking 2 cars?
Parking 2 cars is almost a given. So, but there's also a difference between parking 2 cars, one ahead of the other, and parking them side by side.
Right.
So, generally, I think most of our clients request for cars, car park area that allows parking of cars side by side. Then, in terms of air well, I think that is not explicitly asked for. But it is something that we as architects will explicitly come in to say this is something that is probably good for you.
Good to have.
Yeah.
Especially for inter-terrace because
It's dark. Man.
it's very dark right in the center.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's necessary.
With the rise of the envelope control, so-called like allowing more flexibility, recent years, some inter-terraces, maybe, like inter-terraces, if somebody, a developer were to subdivide, minimum is 150 square meters, right? But in the olden days, some land plots are a bit smaller, right? 1,004, 1,005 square feet.
Yeah.
Then with envelope, because maybe certain developers, they want to squeeze in more bedrooms, they went for the design with like the split level system.
Yes.
In your opinion, because traditionally last time without envelope, every level have a bit of family space, right? Now with split level, it's like, I have to climb a lot of half levels to hit different bedrooms. What do you think about this design concept in terms of pros and cons?
It can work. I mean, the headrooms seem to be a bit better from front to back, but it's going to be very difficult to fit something like a lift to hit every landing.
Does it feel also like a cluster house instead?
Yes, I think so. You feel sometimes like you're just going into rooms in that sense. But if you really need a number of rooms, maybe that's one strategy.
Has that been popular in terms of requests or?
Not really. I don't think we've built many of these kind of houses. Actually, one of the biggest issue is the lift because the lift cannot hit every floor. Then there's the point of having the lift then is sort of defeated.
Then it becomes like you can't leave, you have
They still have to go up. Yeah. So it may not be so useful in that sense.
Right. Right. And how do people navigate smaller homes, right? So now because the cost of inter-terrace is like 4+, then some people are going into certain landed enclaves. Example, MacPherson, you have land plot sizes like 883 square feet. Jalan Hari Raya, small one. Then have you done smaller?
Yeah, I think we've done in
mini ones before.
sort of substandard.
Jalan Hari Raya, yes.
And you cannot park a car inside one.
Yeah.
So how do people make the best use of this if they want to buy something there? Because it's still freehold. Maybe it's about 1,000 square feet, 900 square feet to tear down and rebuild. How do people make the best use of the design sense?
It's very difficult to answer because those plots are usually subject to special guidelines from URA.
Can you like really maximize end to end?
Generally, URA will be sympathetic to the site and that, you bought a land and it's so deficient in size. And
because we're seeing really people maximizing everything.
Yeah. So,
but that's like special cases. No, because we have done before and we had to prove to URA that we couldn't fit proper stuff. And then they let us
a lot of back and forth emails.
Correct.
Even designing and showing them that the rooms really cannot work. And then they are convinced about it.
I see.
So there's a bit more process.
What's the maximum number of bedrooms you can squeeze in?
Those areas that you mentioned are very special and unique by themselves. So I really can't tell you because every site has its own limitations. Yes, correct.
Right. I see. Correct. Okay, but you've done those houses before.
Yes.
So is it,
those areas,
is it difficult to do?
I think there was a lot of back and forth with URA also. Also, like what I say, to prove to them cannot work, then they sort of relax a bit here and there.
So difficult to do, yes. But I think it had a strange sense of satisfaction when you actually like, URA give way.
Okay, then you're amazed as well. Okay. Got it. One out of topic question. So over my last 18 years of doing real estate, like sometimes very strangely, certain clients that invited us to their open house, after building it. Of course, sometimes after we brought them to invest in the home, then they will do their own homework, whether it's through the traditional approach or design and build. And after maybe 2 years or 3 years, they invite us, and then they will share with us very interesting things, or like things that they only found out after they rebuilt their home, is that some of them said that they lost the appetite to stay in the home after rebuilding it, because maybe they find that depending on the people they appoint, some of them had a very nice process that they can hands off. They just need to select materials. Some of them became like the project manager because they were so worried. Or maybe like what Yong Hui mentioned, some tension arose. The project got delayed. By right should be 2 years, it became 3 years or 3.5 years. And maybe the builder lost attention, right? And then they have to really micromanage and drive in. And after moving in, they find that after 3 years, 3.5, the kids grown up already. Then the house is very big and they lost the appetite. And they were like, when I go to a housewarming, they'll say, okay, maybe 1 year later, help me sell. Right? So, what are your advice for clients that wants to rebuild, right? Is that how do they manage also their emotional state, right? How do they look at this thing in terms of like micromanaging or just really like enjoying their life? How do they like, what are some of the best practices to work with their partners, whether it's the architect or builder, to calibrate this?
So I always tell my clients to enjoy the process. You must be happy when you finish up the job and be excited to move in, right? I had this very sad case of a couple who wanted to rebuild their house, but they always argue about what they wanted.
Okay. In front of you also?
No, not in front of us. In front of us is quite calm but they maybe the wife has a certain mindset what she wants, very neat, very tidy. The husband is a bit more chin-chai, right? It's okay, anything goes. But one day the husband texted to me and said, hey, my wife wants to divorce me. They keep quarreling about the house and all that. And I said, wow, that's very, very sad, you know. So of course I tried to come in
halfway.
I think design stage and
okay.
So of course we came in and tried to talk to them personally and try to straighten the whole situation, and also to maybe for her to back off a little bit and let us do the work. And
because they want to micromanage.
Yeah, they want to micromanage. They have too many thoughts about certain things and a bit of phobia. I think the wife had a bit of phobia.
Like want everything.
Germaphobe. So there's certain things like, hey, don't want it to be too dirty or whatever. She thinks about all these things, how to clean things and all that. A bit too much until it become very extreme. So that's why I go back to what I mentioned. When I tell my clients, please enjoy the process. Enjoy all this thinking about where you want to live in your dream home, right? All the aspirations and all that. We will try to make it happen for you. And us as professionals, leave it to us. It's our job to do it. And we've built so many houses. Please trust us, and we'll lead you towards it and towards your goal and your aim of getting living in your dream house. So I think that kind of mindset needs to be done rather than the stress over everything.
Right. Talking about like managing your emotions also, right? Then of course, like just now Yong Hui talked a little bit about trends. Maybe I also just talk about like the recent trends about solar energy and all that kind of stuff. Like how would you advise clients, like do they think about building solar panels right from day one, or they have to let you know first, or is it something that can be a bonus later on? Of course, like the EV pods and all these are normal already. Yeah,
I think it's quite normalized right now. I think almost all the houses have that in mind when we start building. So the infrastructure needs to be done where the cables and all that start to be formed before the house is erected. So we do cater for the solar panel installations. So it is important right now. I think it's one of the almost like a must-have thing that most of the houses will have. Put together with the EV charging and electric car, I think that saves a lot in terms of the usage of the car for clients.
Right. Are there any new future-proof things that buyers are asking for on the ground, other than like bedrooms, ensuite, lift, wheelchair accessibility, solar, and all that? Are there any new things that is like trending up?
Of course, like the smart homes kind of stuff, slowly coming in on the higher end luxury homes. That is almost a must. So we do have houses that are going towards that. Some focus on wellness, like what he said. There are increasingly, clients look for spaces like yoga spaces, spa areas, and all. These are quite interesting scope and brief that we have been handed. So we do have a couple of the new houses that we are actually doing such things. Yeah.
Is swimming pool still trending?
Not really.
Not really. People are asking about how to cover up the swimming pool.
Houses with existing swimming pools, yes, they start to ask us for, or is there any building products that allow you to cover the swimming pool and allow it to be used as like a deck floor area. Then, so there are such questions, and in new projects where we suggest, maybe you can have a swimming pool here, then the clients tend to start. Recently, start to say, I don't want a swimming pool. Please remove the swimming pool. So, I think we can therefore conclude swimming pools are not trendy.
Sort of gone.
Yeah.
Right. I think if some of the developers still take that as one of the things they need to take off. Even like a tiny little pool, they will try to squeeze, which is actually not very good.
I do see some developers exploring the idea of doing the swimming pool in the basement. What do you think about that approach?
Covered swimming pool has some uses. But of course, I think the waterproofing and all that needs to be done very
robust,
mindfully and carefully. We've done swimming pools on upper levels, second floors and all that, which is also another interesting idea where you go up and then the swimming pool is on the upper floor. But then again, the waterproofing is over something on the ground. So always that idea of trying to make sure that downstream there's no leak or anything happen is very important.
Have you all done houses with 2 sets of living room and kitchen before?
Yes.
Like for multi-gen family.
Some of the bigger houses like the GCBs we're doing has different wings. Yes, for sure.
How about like within a semi-D?
Yes. Generally, this kind of move comes in when we are planning for multi-generational houses. So, and generally we will help to zone the house. Like, for example, maybe the parents, the master bedroom is on second story, but most of your space will be on first story, which therefore the need of lift is less, the need of vertical movement is less. Whereas maybe on the second floor onwards, we will say, this goes to the big brother's family. Then the other floor goes to the sister's family, and so on and so forth.
A client who's like that, they don't like to cook with each other. The mother cooks on the ground floor, then the daughter cooks on the upper floor. They have their own kitchen, cannot mix.
Just ensure more peace.
More peace at home.
Okay.
You can do your own thing.
Let's shift gear to timeline management. What is your advice, like usually for timeline? For example, somebody wants to rebuild a semi-D. And like the different time frames to look at, like for example, design consultation, right? Understanding needs and materials and all that, then submission, then really the building phase and the handover phase. Like usually, let's say a semi-D that everything is smooth. Clients are not too micromanaging, make decision pretty swiftly. Usually, what is the total time frame, and to break it down into the micro time frame?
Okay, so usually we like to tell the clients the front part of it, design as well as submission aspects of it, takes about 3 to 6 months. So like what you say, if everything is very smooth and we can get decisions very quickly, we can really try to get the minimum authority clearances to start building within about 3 months. Thereafter, for semi-D, depending on how good the ground condition is also, because sometimes you may have piling, sometimes you may have a sewer trench. So anything from 10 months, 12 months, 14 months, depending on the type of soil conditions. Safely put maybe 6 plus 12, 1.5 years. I think you probably can deliver a good quality house by then.
So 1.5 years is like the optimal.
Yes, about comfortable. If you want to order a lift, it also takes about 6 months. So usually you have to wait for the lift to come and the equipment to come also. So
would it be safe to just buffer a total 2 years?
That's definitely possible. So you can have a bit more time to do the ID works, do all the touch-up works at the end, hand over it nicely.
Right.
That's definitely very comfortable.
Right. How about the timeline for A&A?
A&A would really depend on the condition of the house. So we have had houses which are really in such a bad condition that we really couldn't foresee. So in one of the houses, we don't know why, but the contractor had casted the floor slab too thin, so thin that it's like 50 mm thing is like unbelievably thin. you just hack away the finishes and the floor goes through. So we had to spend time to cast the whole floor again. So that took a long time. And I think clients have to understand that in very old and poor condition houses, that may actually happen. But we have contractors which we work with who are very good. They can do A&As 6 months to 10 months should be quite reasonable in terms of that kind of timeline.
Right. If you can recommend, right, would you always advise try their very best to go for full rebuild rather than A&A?
Yeah, I think you have a lot more flexibility and leeway, like what I mentioned. Yeah, but sometimes because of budget or whatever reasons, you may want to do A&A, or like I again reiterate, if a lot of the house, 90% of it looks in pretty good condition, then you can think about it.
Right. Maybe let's talk a little bit about your firm, right? In terms of the design methodology, like what is your approach when it comes to like designing homes? Do you have a winning formula, or do you cater mostly to the needs of the clients, or like how do you look at your design methodology for Index Architects?
We are very client centric. We basically orient all our design practices around the client. So if the client wants something classical, and I quote this as an example because we don't like classical architecture. So if the client asks for something classical, we don't throw it out of the window. We don't reject the job, and we don't despise what the client has asked for. We take what the client has requested, and we explore how we can do something better. So in other words, we probably try not to say no to any request. And then we try to say, okay, if we don't like this, is there any way to make it so good that both of us, the client included and the consultants included, both of us will like it. So that's our approach to this. And as a result, our end product in terms of style seems very fluid. Seems like there's no exact style. But if you have to ask, what style do you prefer? We do prefer something that is a bit more modern, a bit more minimalist and stuff. But again, we think architecture is a profession where we serve. So we are not serving our own ego. We are serving our clients. So at the end of the day, if our client decides to do something a bit more expressive, a bit more eccentric, we take that as design input and we try to work with it.
Right. Judging by that as well, I mean, like being very bespoke and all that, just in your eyes right? And we also talk about lasting trends. I think some clients, they maybe just want to be hands off. So they said, okay, maybe Index Architect just settle for me, rebuild this MEP. What style would you build it? And maybe the only requirement is that I want it to be a trend that can last for 10 years. Yeah. What style would you build it today?
Again, when we quote terms, everybody has different ideas and different pictures in their minds. But the best term that I can put it is modern and tropical. So basically, it will be something that you will not feel like it's dated to a particular era. Once you have pitch roofs and stuff like that, it's a bit easier to date it to a particular era. But once it's modern, it's a bit more difficult. Like for example, I always tell my team, you look at Villa Savoy, done by Le Corbusier in France. When do you think it has been done? Those who have not studied history would not have known that it was done more than 100 years ago. So that to me is why the modern style tends to blur the boundaries between different eras. And that to me is a sign of timelessness.
So modern plus tropical.
Yes.
Tropical because of the weather that we're saying. We cannot neglect that we are living in this kind of humid, always rain, then sometimes the sun comes out. We need to take care of those needs also. So tropical in that sense, we need to take care of the weather, the orientation of the building, where the sun comes on. It can be very hot it can be very humid, so stuff like that.
And with the modern tropical in mind, do people still like to have a lot more glass, or now they like a fine balance?
I think it's more balanced. I think it's more balanced.
I mean, there was a lot.
Yeah, a lot of glass houses and all that. I think it's not really trending towards such.
So it's a bit more concrete.
Yeah, it's a bit more balanced, I would say. You still need windows, of course, to bring in light. Like what you mentioned just now, courtyards and all that, that can bring in light into the center of the house and everywhere else. But there's not really like a tendency to do like full-on glass, almost like an office buildings. I don't think that is the trend anymore.
Okay.
It's very practical. So the whole thing becomes a glass house and you just cook inside, right? So it's not really a good thing.
Especially in our practice, we do it with consideration towards interior design. So therefore, when you have too much glass, you have no walls to do interior design. You cannot put a painting, you cannot put a cabinet, you cannot put this and that. So we always think that there has to be a balance.
Right.
So so far our clients did not like come back to us and say, you have given us too much windows, nor too much walls. So I think we are striking a good balance.
Recent years also, some clients, they are starting to explore residential shop houses. Have you done shop houses before?
No. That's on my bucket list.
Your bucket list.
I hope to do it one day.
Like renovate an A&A within it, because there's a lot more boundaries you are in, all that. Okay. Good. Yeah, maybe once you all have some interesting projects, we can have a second episode to share. Yeah, maybe one final advice from each of you to our audience when it comes to really like looking to invest in a landed for the purpose of rebuild. Some like maybe just 1 to 2 key advice that you usually give like before they even put out the check, right? Like what should they think about, look out for and all that, then before they engage your services?
They may not necessarily have to look for us, but they ought to look for a good architect that can advise them well and lead them towards their dream home, like what I mentioned just now. And then the next thing I would say is enjoy the process. Yeah, don't fight over it. I think you just get together and figure out what you want to do with the property, and then look for the right professional, and we will definitely guide you along the way.
Okay, awesome. Yong Hui?
Probably advise that before you put the check, you better do some due diligence.
It's more practical.
I mean, like, I was suddenly remembering like a client wanted to offer for a landed, then there were the wires at the back, right?
The power cables.
Right? Which, I mean, like that.
The old homes are like that.
Yeah, and it serves the whole street. It's very hard to fight against that thing, right? So, things like this, right? Like example, then the sewage, the plans and all that kind of stuff.
Correct. Yeah. So your road line plan, your railway protection plan, your drainage interpretation plan, and so on and so forth. And some of these plans don't show everything, or rather all of these plans don't show everything. You should probably visit the site, watch out for things that usually are not too glamorous. Look out for, in fact, just as an advice, look out for the dirty things. Look out for where your inspection chamber is. Is there a manhole? Is there a drain? Is there a drain coming from a neighbor's side? And so on and so forth. Is there a tree that your neighbor has that is shedding leaves all over your site? Which this no building regulation can resolve it. It's a neighborly thing. So that would be my advice. I do some due diligence. And if not say if necessary, if possible, get a good agent. Get a good architect at that point of time before you put in a check.
Do a walkthrough first.
Yes.
Just see if there's any sensing visibly. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all your experiences, wisdom and advice. I think it's very valuable for our clients because they always ask a lot of practical things, which sometimes out of emotion, right? Somebody just buy a landed without realizing there's so many things, right? I think we can come back for a second episode in future. If you guys are open, talk a little bit more about the commercial side, industrial, and the shop house side.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Jerry.
Very nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Feeling like a brand new
You take a photo?